Helpers, written by Shirley Hughes and published by Picture Lions. Mick, Jenny and baby Sue's mother has to go out today and leave them behind. George has come to look after them. He is nearly grown up and a very good helper. Now, says George, there's going to be no mucking about, you've all got to help. They clear the dirty things from the table and stack them on the sink. Not one is broken. Sue doesn't help. She sits in her high chair, dropping bits of crust on the floor. Looks a bit of a mess in here, says George, in the children's room. The beds aren't very well made. There are comics all over the floor, and who's been walking about in muddy Wellingtons? The toy cupboard looks like this. It's too full to put anything away. George says that there would be a lot more room if they threw away some of these old broken toys. Mick is a great help in carrying them out to the bin. But Jenny thinks it rather a pity to get rid of so many old friends. Luckily, Sue has cleared an entire shelf of the bookcase all by herself. It's just right as a home for old toys. Now it is time for Sue to go in her pram and have a nap. The others go into the garden. It's much too small for football, but there are 4 flowers out. Perhaps we could do some weeding, says George. But Mick and Jenny aren't quite sure which are the weeds and which are the plants. Neither is George, so they pick the flowers instead to make a lovely bunch for when Mum comes in. Suddenly everyone's hungry. Mum has left a cold dinner. Hooray! Jenny thinks she can remember how the knives, forks and spoons go. Right hand, left hand. Has she done it properly? Mick helps Sue with her chocolate pudding. After dinner, George sits down to read his magazine. The children play a game of boats with cushions. The shiny part of the floor is the sea, and the carpet is the land. Sue keeps getting out of her boat into the water. When there is a shipwreck, they have to climb up George to keep from being drowned. George soon says crossly that he's had enough of this game, so they go out to the shop. At the shop, George buys some chewing gum for himself and some sweets for the children. Sue sits outside in her pram, chatting to some friends. On the way home, they call at the wreck. George pushes everyone very high on the swings. When they get home, George thinks he will finish off painting the sitting room window frame, but this is not a good idea. And they all watch television instead. Suddenly, George remembers that none of the washing up has been done. Now Mick and Jenny do a really helpful thing. They give Sue a bath all by themselves. They make sure that the water isn't too hot and hold on tight while they soap her all over. Afterwards, they put on her nightie and even remember to brush her hair. There's someone at the door. Mum's come home. Now it's time for the children to have their supper and go to bed. Mum says they've all been very good. How could George have managed without them?